Welcome back. I'm your host, Erika Ishii, and we are here at IndieCade, the place where there's awesome indie games. Don't forget that we are giving away a bunch of neat swag. You can go to twitch.skybound.com, and you can fill out a survey there about all the games that you're watching right now and win some really neat stuff from Walking Dead and from Super Fight and a really cute little dragon plushie. So I'm here joined by some of the members of the team behind Oxenfree. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Sean Krankel. I am the co-founder of Night School Studio and also the co-creative director of the game.
I'm Adam Hines. I am the other co-founder and co-creative director, and I wrote the game.
And I'm Andy Rorman, aka Scientific, and I write all the music for the game.
And
my name is Adam, also known as Seananners. Hi.
Two Adams.
And I'm Todd Martens. I write about video games for the LA Times.
Fantastic. So, gentlemen, could you tell us a little bit about your game?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, so, oh, I'm sorry. Are you excited?
I'm
Have you
really
seen
excited
it?
about
You know
it.
anything about this game?
Yeah. I've been
Okay,
keeping
good.
tabs on the trailer and on the development of this game for a while now. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome,
Great.
as are we. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the game, it's almost like a hybrid of, if you take kind of the teen drama of Freaks and Geeks or of Stand By Me, and then you set that against a supernatural sort of thriller environment, almost like Poltergeist. And when I say Poltergeist, I mean that because it's horror, but it's not extreme head-lopping, blood-gushing horror. It's more like fun, playful sense of wonder before things really get real kind of horror. And so the game, basically, you play as this girl named Alex, and it is her senior year. Her brother passed away a couple years earlier, so there's a little bit of baggage that leads into the beginning of the game. And as Alex, you go with a bunch of friends from your class to go party on the beach overnight. So a lot of what we'll be seeing today is sort of that, where you start partying on this beach and then all hell breaks loose. And I think we'll see a bit of that in the gameplay.
Awesome. And this is the first time we're going to get to see some actual gameplay of this game.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and what we're going to see starts like 20 minutes into the game about. Where they show up on the beach and they're just going to have a good time, apparently.
But not really.
But not really.
All right.
Shall I begin?
Fire it out.
Okay.
The first
The first bug. There you go.
Got it.
Hooray, we hit it.
We
Congratulations.
When
it,
it comes out, you'll be able to press start. So yeah, the game takes place in this sort of faux Pacific Northwest town called Kamina. So it's sort of in like an Oregon type town or a Washington type town, and these kids go and party, and it's sort of a rite of passage that they go out and hang out on this beach. They ditch the last ferry back from this island. I'll let this play for a bit.
Thing to do here, other than obviously go skinny dipping and get murdered by
yes.
Jason Kruger.
Right answer.
Correct answer.
It's supposed to be a party, right?
And light fires.
Hey, you bought the radio, right?
Sure did.
The little portable one?
And this voice cast is dope. How'd you hook up with all of them?
It's a lot of people who I worked with before. So the main lead is Aaron Yvette, who was Snow White in the Wolf game.
A lot of Telltale,
So yes,
ex-Telltale people.
Exactly, yeah.
Where did you come up with the mechanic for the radio?
So that one's interesting because it came fairly late in the design. Like what we wanted to do was, like the core mechanic of the game was how do we take the narrative-driven game but allow players to continue to walk around and not have cutscenes, which isn't necessarily like the most awesome sounding challenge, but we're like, that is a challenge that nobody's really nailed yet, like the ability to walk and communicate with people. And so the game kind of started to flesh out around that, like all the horror aspects and all of the team drama and all the friendships. And then we really knew sort of the core story that we wanted to tell, but then we went, all right, well, with this character and these kids, what's a good mechanic to interact with? It's a mechanic that allows for some really weird, scary interactions and feels kind of powerful. And the radio, we finally landed on that after a lot of prototyping because it was just such a, it's a familiar object in the, in all of our worlds, yet it's also the type of thing that can be very creepy because you can hear different transmissions from places that you don't necessarily know. So taking a little bit of a lead from like what Silent Hill had done years earlier and using that to teach you about the world around you. The radio in our game does a lot. It works like it's sort of like the ocarina in Zelda, where you can go and key into specific frequencies and open up portals to open to other ghosts and things like that, all the way down to just hearing like your high school friends on their radio station back on the island. It's a lot of stuff.
So you mentioned that there's no cutscenes. That's drastically different than most adventure narrative games.
Yeah.
How did you work around that in terms of story?
It was a giant pain. But thankfully, we think it made it feel ultimately pretty cool that you always have control over what you want to explore and what you want to do at the same time as being able to talk and make choices too,
During development, did you work with the music? I mean, did they have the music already while they were writing things, or did you come later?
We're still working on the music, but I was in relatively early,
Yeah.
and even had a little bit of hand in ideas with like the radio. And there's some other secrets in the game later where music kind of crosses that line from score to being involved in how you progress through the game. So yeah, I was in pretty early because it was so integral to the process.
And you also did the radio station music as well. Then.
Yeah, and the sound design for the
Getting
radios.
close.
and whatnot.
Yeah, keep
So-
going. You'll
like it.
see.
There
Yeah,
are
you're
a
getting
couple of
close.
games where music is actually integral to the plot. Things like he mentioned Ocarina of Time, and there's a couple of other that escape me right now. But was that a challenge to have to work with them to make it actually integrate into the story?
They were really open to what I thought were crazy, stupid ideas. Like, what if we could actually tune the radio? No, it's not just a prop. And they figured out how to do it, which was really amazing technically, and then feels really good to see it in the game and work, and brings up those memories of what a little tuning radio was like when I was like a little kid. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Now, you did Swords and Sorcery as well, correct?
I did a small part of Sword and Sorcery. Jim Guthrie was the main composer. I did some sound design and some music, and then I just completed Galaxy. Was my latest full score. So
Because it has that feeling of just the actual background music being just kind of ambient and unnoticeable, but giving you kind of the mood.
yeah, it's an inspiration for us, and it was a great project to be involved with, both from a creative standpoint, but as a fan. I got to play Sword and Sorcery like everybody else and discover the little bits of it I had made, and yeah, I think it was an inspiration for how this could come together too.
Giant rabies-filled bat, or a maniac who wears mannequin wigs, or it kind of
Now you can like just completely leave all of this right now, right?
Yeah, so where we started the demo is about maybe 30 minutes into the game. So the opening of the game, you come out on the ferry and you hang out with your friends, and you've also got some sort of enemies with a lot of different paths that you're dealing with. And so you have the little party out at the beach, and at that moment in time, you could actually walk away from them and they'll be like, where are you going? Or you can go, no, I'll jump into the cave and check out what's going on. And so I think that's one of the biggest crazy challenges that Adam signed himself up for,
Yeah.
was this idea
Sadly.
of always being able to walk away from a conversation, or
Yeah.
always being able to sort of just do what you want to and not be bound by a particular cutscene. So yeah, like you could play through this entire game and never speak, and they will constantly be saying to you like, you're really weird. Like, why are you doing that? If you want to do that.
Yeah.
We don't recommend that. It's much better if you're talking.
If you actually play the game, yeah.
Yeah, playing the game is more fun.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have options.
But it's nice
It's nice to have
options.
options.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can just
So
be
what
a little
just
free.
happened here, one of the things on this island, so it's this decommissioned military base, and it has been turned into like a tourist trap kind of an island. And so one of the things that people do is you can bring an old radio and like tune in and just hear weird stuff. And so what Ren, her buddy, just said was, hey, if you go over to these rocks that the other seniors last year left, we'll probably hear some weird stuff. And so as you and your friends tuned in and kept tuning into more stuff, you lit up this hole kind of in the side of the cave, and now she's looking for Jonas, her new stepbrother, who she's trying to be buddies with, but just ran away.
How dire are dialogue option choices?
They range from being just a very casual conversation where you're just hanging out with with your friend, and you can say, hey, I don't really like that guy, and you think you're telling your friend in confidence, and it may come back and hurt you. Or it's a matter of like picking which friend you want to try and get back after everything kind of goes bad. It's our goal was to kind of have it range from being a very naturalistic conversation to also being like big black and white, like this is bad, you know.
What were you hoping to do differently in the narrative adventure sort of genre?
So a few things, right? Like we're a pretty small studio. There's only like 5 of us full time, and so we know that we're jumping into a space that a lot of people are doing really well and on a very large scale. And so we kind of wanted to figure out what are some challenges that other people haven't nailed yet and done that really well. And so the main one that we thought was super interesting was like just dialogue and the ability to interact with dialogue and have it feel more dynamic and not be like, oh, there's a bunch of choices at the bottom of a screen while I watch, you know, like a TV show. It's more like, no, there's never a cutscene. The dialogue choices are merged to the character. All of your friends can be seen on screen at all times, and suddenly now, oh, it feels really dynamic and it feels more kind of naturalistic. So that was probably the first one. The other one would be just adding that radio in. We really liked the idea of adding a true mechanic to an adventure game instead of like, pick up orange controller, stick it in orange keyhole. Like there's a degree of that in any game, right? But for us, we thought this radio could open up some really interesting mechanics that empower the player.
It's kind of a unique interface to
Yeah,
just
it's
have
pretty
one
weird.
item that like slots into everything else as opposed to having to pick up and collect a bunch of inventory.
Yeah. It that's I mean.
Do you have an inventory at all?
There is not an inventory that you can actually cycle through, but there's absolutely times where you'll pick up a few things. But we want the barrier to entry to be super low. So the main things you'll ever use are like a map and that radio, and that's it. Beyond that, there's a lot of problem solving that you do through environmental stuff, but we didn't want to have to cycle through like a menu to pick stuff.
This might sound silly, but like what I like about the radio is that it gives the game this sort of timeless feel. Like, you know, because you're going for something that's sort of mysterious and magical, but you're not using like a smartphone that you're channeling stuff with.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting point because early on we almost made it a period piece. Like there was a while where we went, okay, it's going to be 1989 or it's going to be 1993 or whatever, and we started to go, well, it'd be cool to evoke a sense of nostalgia through the situations and through the music and through the art direction, but why stick it in a specific place? And so the radio ended up being this kind of funny thing where they kind of crack on it in the game a lot, where it's like, why do you have a radio with, like, why would you ever bring that? But what we love about it is, yeah, like it's something that is familiar yet kind of magical at the same time. Radios are just crazy. The fact that you can hear, we could tune into a ham radio right now and hear a bunch of dudes in the Netherlands probably talking about random stuff. It's interesting.
How's it handling?
I'm digging it. I'm zoned in. Oh, what'd I do?
You're about to
Make bad things happen.
What's going on?
do
Did I make something
something
upset?
not.
No,
you're good. That was
keep
right.
going, yeah.
But
Jonas
notice
is
that
mad at
Jonas
you.
said, why would you stop?
And you can answer.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? What is it?
It's scary.
You mentioned that Alex is coming into the game with some like emotional baggage. Like how much of the game is like her personal journey versus like this paranormal stuff that's going on, or
So a lot of it, I would say.
Now, if
about
you move
maybe
up
like
and down
half
the
of it
dial, you
ends
can
up
find more
relating
stuff.
pretty closely to that. And that's always kind of a challenge with this type of game, where you want the player to enter the game not having to be hyper aware of the players or the characters' past, because how are you going to catch them up and make them care? So that's why, you know, like looking at Jonas, we make it, he's your new stepbrother, you're meeting him this first night, and that's how I get to understand dealing with him. But over the course of the evening, a lot of what happened with her brother who passed away, a lot of timeline elements, which I can't really get into heavily, but there are a lot of like time travel types of things that end up taking place that, oh yeah, this is the crazy part. But a good amount,
Very sad.
What? What are you? Listen, talk to. Shame to. Sleeping. Time down. If possible.
curious, like everything is like this wide shot. Like even when stuff is happening, like you're not trying to heighten the drama.
Yeah.
So
That has been a challenge, and it was a choice that we made early on to just say, like, let's keep it all the way zoomed out all the time and almost have the player be the director of a scene, but that means that the composition needs to contain everything. So we're finding like there's moments where it works extremely well because it feels big and sweeping and there's these broad shots, but it's also challenging because you've got tiny characters. So how do you make drama come through with that? So the way we've been treating it almost is like that it's a stage play, if that makes sense. Like we have to make all of the animations and the VO and everything play from really far away instead of close-ups and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a challenge that we chose early on, but we're loving it now because it makes us be very creative.
very cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. So where can people find the game right now?
Nowhere yet, other than YouTube.
I mean, like, where can they pre-order it, though?
So,
or?
no, which I'm a big fool for not having that good to go.
Why?
That said,
All right, well,
just
where can they
announced-
find your information?
So, yes, so we just announced yesterday that we will be launching on Xbox One and on Windows 10 and on Steam in January. So
Okay.
it's right around the corner.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we need to get pre-orders and things like that set up, but look out for the game in January. And
Okay.
if you go to nightschoolstudio.com, that has a lot of info about the game, or you could follow us on Twitter at Nightschoolers.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, so much
Thank
for coming
you.
and chatting with us about this. I'm so excited about
of
this
course.
game. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And make sure to leave your feedback on twitch.skybound.com.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us for our IndieCade experience. We had such an awesome time, so why don't you keep joining us by subscribing below and talk to us in the comments, because that's super fun. Also, we're gonna keep uploading conversations that we had with game developers at IndieCade, so stay tuned, stick around, because we've got more of that good stuff coming. Yeah.